My name is Becky Wright, and I'm really nervous. I did VIPU just a couple of months ago, and was actually asked to stand up and tell everybody what my name was, and that scared me. So this is quite intimidating, but I'm just going to give it my best shot. Thanks. So just to give you a little bit of background on me, when I was growing up, I had two big ambitions. The first was to have an ice cream factory. What kid doesn't want an ice cream factory? And the second was to be a fabulous fitness instructor, a bit like my idol Jane Fonda. But I've never taken a conventional path in anything I've done. Most of what I did in my childhood was in rebellion. You know, my mum told me to do something, I would do the opposite. So when I was 18, I said, I'm going to university and I'm going to study fine art. And my mum was like, that's not going to get you a job. I didn't care. So I went to university, I studied fine art for 5 years and had an amazing time. And straight after that, we went into the global recession, and I panicked slightly. I thought, oh, I better get a job. So I got a job in TV, and I thought that this was, you know, sort of a step in the right direction. It was creative, and maybe really glamorous, but I ended up working on soul-destroying programs like Big Brother, and I just wanted to die. So during that time, I was going to the gym quite a lot. And fitness really was like my release and my escape. And I developed quite a few friendships with personal trainers, and I was being pulled into the fitness industry whether I knew it or not. So I decided to become a personal trainer, and I looked around for courses, and I found a 12-week intensive which looked really good, and I'm sure most of you have done something really similar at some point. So I got stuck into it, I worked my ass off, I trained hard, I studied, and I loved it. I loved learning about the physiology and the anatomy, I loved learning about how to make people fitter, and it was great. But I was very naive when it came to knowing anything about the business of being a personal trainer or how I was going to make any money. I thought I was going to wear a t-shirt that would say personal trainer on the back, and the clients would just walk by. Anybody else think that? Yeah. So I went through the course, and I remember at the end of it, we did like 2 days of business, and our tutor sat us down, and he rolled off a few statistics, and he said 50% of new PTs in the industry will drop out of the industry after the first year, and only about 15% are going to be left still working as personal trainers after 5 years. Now that information was a bit like a punch in the face to me. I'm sat in a room, and I think there were about 20 of us on my course, and I'm like doing a head check. I'm like, well, who in here is still going to be personal training after a year? And I don't know what it was, but like I was determined that I was not going to be one of those statistics. You know, I'd done art, I'd done TV. I needed something. I needed some stability. So I was determined to make this work. So I got my certificate, and I went out and I got a job straight away because that's what I felt I needed to do. But the job I got happened to be in Bermuda. I know. And that was fulfilling my other passion, which was to travel. And it was part of the reason why I got into the fitness industry, is I knew that this was something I could do anywhere. That's what I told people. This is a job I can do anywhere. So I hopped on a plane and I flew out to Bermuda. It's a tiny little island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, if you don't know. Population of about 65,000 people. And I thought I was living the dream. Beautiful paradise island, and I was a personal trainer. But I was working in a typical big box facility type gym, and I didn't see so many beaches, but I did see a lot of sweat on the floor, weights lying everywhere, and I was the one who was cleaning this crap up and re-racking the weights, and I was basically being paid very little to do it. So needless to say, my heart wasn't in this, and I was looking for other opportunities. And then another amazing one just landed in my lap. So out of kind of nowhere, I got a phone call, and I was asked, would I be interested in becoming a personal trainer to a Saudi Arabian princess? And originally I said no. I said, no, this is like, I can't cope with that culture. That's not for me. And I thought about it more and more, and I spoke to friends and family, and I realized that opportunity wouldn't come around again. And you know, who knows what it would lead to. So I jumped on a private jet. And I flew out to the middle of the Saudi desert, and I worked with this princess for about 18 months. And it was a fantastic experience. You know, we traveled everywhere. Wherever she went, I would go. And it was, again, really, really good. But I knew that job also had a shelf life to it. So It's not the kind of thing you could do forever. So I worked with her for, as I said, just over 18 months, and towards the end of that, people started asking me, so what are you going to do next, Becky? And are you going to open a gym? Are you going to open a studio? Because at that stage, I was becoming quite, an established personal trainer. People knew about me, and I was getting good results, and it was great. But I didn't think I was ready, and I didn't think that I was a business owner. I didn't think I was an entrepreneur. I didn't think I could do or create anything on my own. So I decided not to take that route and stay in employment. And I went back to Bermuda. I got a phone call from a guy who had just opened a studio, a small personal training studio. They would be offering one-on-one and partner training, so 2 clients to 1 trainer. And I thought it was a step in the right direction. It wasn't a big box gym, and I'd be working with more people than just one individual who was a bit of a diva. So I went back to Bermuda, and I was hopeful that it would be different, but I do realize that's the definition of insanity. So there I was, August 2013. Just an employee again. I was taking a decent cut. I was getting 50% of our session rate, but my rates were fixed and I couldn't alter those. And we were selling sessions in blocks of 10. So our clients had no commitment and was very little consistency. The studio had no sales system in place and no marketing strategy. I am not kidding you when I say we did not do one tiny bit of advertising. We relied entirely on word of mouth referrals. There was nothing in place there. My monthly salary at this time was between $5,000 and $6,000. Bermuda's an extremely expensive place, one of the most expensive places on this planet. And so that money didn't really go very far, and I had a fair bit of personal debt from relocation, for one reason or another. So it wasn't great financially. Things ticked along though, and then in January 2014, I approached my boss and I said, listen, I'd really love to start doing some group fitness training because group fitness is where my passion lies. I love teaching groups because of the energy and the atmosphere you can create, and I sort of indicated to him that we could maybe make a little bit more money. So he agreed to give it a go, and I originally started with five amazing women in my group, but they were all paying on a per session basis. So if they didn't show up, we didn't get paid, and it was definitely less than ideal. But they started spreading the word, the classes grew in popularity, and we maxed out. I had to put on more sessions, and then at that stage we started charging them on a monthly basis. So step in the right direction, but still quite difficult to manage. Things continued really great through the spring and the summer, and then it was around about the middle of the summer that my boss decided to take the step into opening a separate studio that would be dedicated exclusively to group fitness. And in theory, this sounded great, but the reality of it was I was going to be solely responsible for running it. I would also be doing my personal training, partner training, teaching all of the classes, which at that point was 16 per week, and running this group fitness studio. I was working 14-hour days. That was like my Monday to Friday, and then at the weekends, I was either sleeping or I was back on my laptop, replying to emails, doing stuff, going back into the studio, making sure that everything was fine. So I literally had no life. And this wasn't even my business. Oh, I'm an idiot, I know. Anyway, so it was really difficult, and I was just winging it. And around about October time, I started to get quite depressed, quite down, and I was thinking, this just can't go on any longer. I'm about to have a breakdown. It started to affect me physically. My health started to decline. I wasn't training much. I wasn't looking after myself. I'm sure many of you have been in that situation. Having said all of that, we did have our best month last year in October. I managed to get the numbers up to 48 members, and we generated just over 10.5 grand. Unfortunately, though, in that same month, Bermuda got hit by 2 hurricanes. It's actually exactly 1 year ago today. So 1 year ago today, I was in my little apartment in the bathroom like this. I kid you not, waiting for this hurricane to pass. That I went right over the island. It was scary, and this had a really negative effect on our client base because they spent the next few weeks chopping down trees and clearing debris up rather than coming into the gym and training with us. So we took a real hit with our revenue in October. So I knew that something had to change, and I started looking around. I went online and just started doing my research, and that's when I came across MPE. And then they did their Black Friday sale for auto closer, and I love a bargain. I do, seriously. And that's the other thing. There's nothing to buy in Bermuda. So, this was something exciting, right? So I was really skeptical, though, because I didn't have this. This wasn't my business, and I was wondering, how am I ever going to be able to implement any of what it is that I'm learning? And at a later stage, I had numerous conversations with Rick. I was like, Rick, how can I get this to apply to me? He's like, Becky, every business is the same, and you will use this information eventually. So I took a chance, and I got involved with the auto closer and started with MPE in December, and it was life-changing, mainly from my mindset point of view. Before, I was like, I can't do this. This isn't going to work. This doesn't apply to me. And my coach, Evan, was like, shut up. Just do it. Okay. So I first off negotiated a new contract with my boss, which would see me much better rewarded for all the work that I was doing. He was skeptical. I don't think he really believed that I was capable of doing the stuff which I told him I was going to do. So I think he was just sort of taking a chance that I probably wouldn't be as successful as I was. But I managed to negotiate this new contract, and I went back to the UK for Christmas, saw my family, and during that time I ran a 12 days of fitness promotion and generated just under $42,000 in sales in 12 days. Thank you. And yeah, I remember Christmas Eve, I'm sending out an email, and my mum's like, Becky, come down for dinner. And I'm like, no, I'm just doing some sales. So to be able to do that as well from this country, and I'm selling to people in Bermuda, that was another pivotal moment for me. I was like, I can do this, and this is me doing this. So that was great. So I went back to Bermuda in January. My paycheck more than doubled. Out of my personal debt, paid off all my debts. Awesome. Yeah, really, I'm not kidding you, one of the best feelings ever. Now money starts going into savings, it's all good. So we continued to grow. In the spring, we went through our 100 member threshold. Yay! April and May, we had 2 consecutive best months ever. We hit over 20K in May. That's a massive 89% increase on our best month for last year. So 1 year of operations for the group fitness studio, and this was just group fitness. I still had no control over personal training or anything. That was something that my boss was never going to let me touch. So I just focused on group fitness. But in our first year, we made just over $165,000. When I say we, I actually mean me. Sorry, that sounds really big-headed. But that's something I never thought that I could do. So, thank you. Before MPE, you can just see the beginning of that graph. Before MPE, it was $8,500 a month average. Afterwards, almost $18,000. And our total for the year would have been a lot bigger had I been working with MPE throughout that entire duration. So yeah, we more than doubled our average monthly revenue. So it was really good. But ultimately, despite all that success, I knew that I had to leave, and I had to do something for myself, because it's now or never, and I can't keep being that employee, and I can't just stand back and make other people successful. I need to be successful in my own right. So I left Bermuda 2 weeks ago, and in September I launched my own business, Inspire Fitness Coaching, and I offer online coaching, fitness coaching and nutrition coaching services. On my first day, I opened up 10 spaces, and they all sold out within 24 hours. Generated just over 20K. Yeah. All of my clients are on, 80% of my clients are on 12-month packages, and I've got 20% on 6-month. So it's nice and sustainable. And so far, they're loving it, which is great. Being online gives me a lot of freedom. I'm going to Mexico on Wednesday When I get back from Mexico, I go to Thailand and Singapore till the end of the year. And then who knows about next year. So that's half of my business. The second half, which I'm extremely excited about, is fitness retreats. So I got asked a few months ago by some clients, could I make some recommendations for fitness holidays? And instead of making recommendations, I said, well, how about you come on one with me? So this is where my idea for fitness retreats, it started. And I remember mentioning this to my coach, who later became Katrina. I said, I'm going to do this thing. And she's like, great, just go and do it. And I was like, what? Like, really? It's a good idea? She's like, yeah, just go and do it. So my first one, it's sold out. I've got 8 guests coming to Mexico with me on Wednesday. It's grossed almost $22,000. And the net profit for that 6-night retreat is over $7K. You know, that's a lot of money per day if you look at it like that. And I'm going to be in Mexico on the beach in this beautiful luxury villa, training people, doing what I love. So I'm really excited for that. Next year, I've got Costa Rica lined up, 14 people on my pre-sale list, and then I'm going to be doing Morocco, hopefully in the autumn. So this is something that I anticipate will grow year after year. So there's lots of really exciting stuff in my future now, and yeah, it is extremely exciting. It's nerve-wracking because it's also new to me, and in many respects I feel like a bit of a fraud standing here, and perhaps I'll have a lot more to tell you next year. But MP has impacted my life beyond anything that I imagined. This time last year, I had this feeling that I wanted to go and live in the US, and that's where I wanted to be. So I contacted a US immigration attorney, and they explained to me the process, which I don't know if anybody has thought about doing this or would like to go and move to the US. It is not easy. It's really not easy. And it's even harder if you're British, because so many Brits typically move to the US, they reduce the quota that can go over. So the only type of green card that is available to me as an option is something called the EB-1A. And they give this to aliens of extraordinary ability. So you essentially have to prove that you're in the top 2% of your industry to get this green card. And if it wasn't for MPE, I wouldn't be one of those aliens of extraordinary ability. I have to have a high salary. I have to have achieved quite a lot, and I have to prove myself that I am, you know, the real McCoy. So without the money that MPE has helped me to make, there's no way that I would qualify for that. And just standing on this stage and presenting to you too is also helping me towards my green card. But if I were to win this, it would be a massive tick right at the top. So, you know, no pressure or anything. But yeah, MP has really has changed my life, and there's just going to be a lot more to come in the next year and the years beyond that. So thank you very much. And if you have any questions after this, just come find me. Thank you.